Good morning to you peeps, Lizzle here once more, and today I'm coming to you with stage 1 of our community project, community build, which is our super awesome, all-encompassing Diddley Bow. Now I do have the captain's log with me, so we may proceed. Enough from me and straight in. Okay, so yes, you can see that I'm crouched behind the bench in at a strange angle, but it was the only way I could really film this. I'm trying to get the camera just where you want it. It's like, have you ever bought a new car and you've got to adjust the rear view mirror from the previous owner or from the factory, and it just, until you've got it right there, you're going nowhere. It's very similar to that. But anyway, as I say, enough from me, and let's get down to business. So I've got the back door open to hopefully give us a bit of light, because I'm coming to you from the workshop, which is the gloomy hallway in this apartment. Let me slow down. In this apartment. Okay. So first things first. And if you did see the intro, it'll probably make more sense. If you didn't, go back and watch the intro, which was filmed yesterday, and that will explain. But yeah, I'm going to go through the practical end of basically dressing the box for the body of the instrument, and yeah, we'll do that now. So here is our box. Now the first thing I've done really is to remove the lid. This is the kind of lid obviously that's taped in place, and it's nice and dead flat, which is a lot easier to build with, I find, especially if it's one of your first builds. And the light is appalling in here, but I hope you can see. Now, there's a specific way I would do that. It's not difficult. It just means that when you put it back together, everything's nice and neat looking again. So, the best way I've found is to score the inside first, because there are 2 or 3 layers of paper in there. I can show you on this spare box I've got here, this little Romeo and Julieta. I probably pronounced that totally wrong. But basically, I have found out, take a nice sharp craft knife and just score along the inside layer, so the first layer of paper, rather than hack all the way through it, just skim along. I did say I would show you absolutely everything on here, and I'm going to try and do that to the best of my ability in any case. But that way you can kind of pull that back slightly and cut the extra length of paper, and then when you stick the box back together, it all sticks down nicely and doesn't peel off again. Just something I've discovered down the years, using old dry boxes. So now if you go in at the edge and very carefully score along there. Now I do imagine that most of us are over 18 that are watching this channel, but if you are a younger person, and for the sake of Liesel's nerves, please only do this under the supervision of a parent, adult caregiver, or qualified tutor. I say qualified. I would be a lot happier. But yes, I'm all for young people learning how to work with wood. So there's my little disclaimer, but I do think that's important, and I think I've probably neglected to mention that a few times, so I'm mentioning that now. But then you see, this flap here will help when we go to put the lid back on, and generally put the whole thing back together. So that's how I typically start. Moving back to our nice Monte Cristo cigar box. I've done the same here, because next up we're going to want to insert these little supports. Now I have pre-cut these, but it's pretty self-explanatory. This was actually a sort of display easel for art. I wouldn't really say it was a proper art easel. If you're in the UK, they're about £3 in the works. And again, you'll find them in any hobby centre anywhere in the world, I'm sure. And they're a lot cheaper than buying the individual pieces of wood again. So I just chopped it up really. But you can see, because obviously, especially if you're anything like me and you're cutting by hand, not using a band saw or such like, or a table saw, it's probably not going to be dead straight, although I've done pretty well there. It might be slightly raised above the surface where the lid goes. So not a problem, because we're going to file those down. It'll only be a small amount of filing, hopefully. And that will just basically, it stops the box from flexing too much and falling apart, which can actually happen when we go on to the next stage, but we'll see what does happen. As you know, this is Liesel's cigar box guitar. So I'm going to refer now to the captain's log. Corner struts. So that's these parts here. Detaching the lid. Yep, we've covered that part as well. So now it's time for the scary bit. Yeah, for me it's the scary bit, because as you know, being as I'm not all that strong really, I do rely upon the great big humping drill, as I call it. There's Liesl knocking things over. These are flat so they don't fall off the workbench. So what does Liesl do? Knocks it off the workbench. But like I say, we're coming at a funny angle. And yes, well, I will proceed. So, that's where we do the boring measurements really. I've done those already, but I will explain. I would say, with a box like this, you want the edge of the hole that's going to receive the neck to be about ½ an inch lower than the lip. So you can see I've made a couple of cross marks. That's more or less dead centre. It was something like so many inches, a quarter and an eighth, which I can't work out. I did it in centimetres. It was 6.5 centimetres, so 65 millimetres. So roughly 32, because I can't really do ½ a millimetre. I went 32 from the top, so it's just above halfway. Now, as we know, you can have these however you like. You can have them at an angle, which is quite nice if you like playing it rested on your knee. You can have it dead level, like that. You can have the neck slightly high or slightly low, whatever is your preference. There are no rules. I like to, if anything, have the bottom part slightly lower if it doesn't measure out too well. Alternatively, you can cut a piece of paper to that exact size, fold it in half, and that'll give you the dead centre. But that more or less is within ½ a millimetre anyway. And I'm going to use this part as the top. So, now for the scary part. I always say, and for safety's sake, have your leads well out of the way so you're not going to trip over them when you're working on the bench. I know that's pretty sort of obvious. But I also say that have everything switched off until the point at which you're going to use it. That's just a lot safer in my book. Yes, and as I say, no loose electrical cords or leads or anything like that. There's the neck. So we're ready to go in. Now, this workbench has certainly seen better days. It's been drilled into quite a few times. It's actually not very level anymore. And I do intend, once I can get some ½ inch ply, to create a new top for this, or something a bit stronger so that I can actually fit a vise to the top. Because I think a proper vise, well, that is something I would prefer, but we can use the jaws of a workbench, perfectly good. And that's what we're going to do today. So if I just move the drill, it's still switched off, so no problem. Unwind this and this because we are going to want this box to be fairly well supported, I would say. Let's quick look. Yep, looks about right. I would also say it's best to just lodge the lid back in there, and I'm going to rest it on this metal bar so that it's fully supported all the way round. Like so. But actually one thing I will show you, which is probably worth doing, is if I just take this out for a minute. So yeah, we want the edge of the hole to line up with that ½ inch down, and you can see I've made a dot with a drill bit where that comes to. Sorry if that slipped off camera. So you kind of line it up there, hence your little cross mark, bring it across to where the bit's going to go, and that's more or less where we want. There we go. And I've done that on each side. So now if I just grip that back in the jaws, do the back part so that it's evenly gripped, and we can move on to the scary drill. Now the one thing that I've learned from one or two of us marvellous cigar box guitar builders is that these can rip apart, especially if you're using a very scary humping drill. But if you actually switch the drill in reverse and let it kind of just give it a gentle pressure, it kind of pulls it out rather than pushes it in, and I do find you get less ripping on the inside, so I'm going to give that a go. So that's in forward at the moment, and I know the light is appalling, but if I put it in reverse, put it in the hole, making sure the lead's well out of the way and where you can see it. This really should go back in the slot as well. No worries, because the drill still isn't switched on, otherwise I wouldn't have done that. And now we're ready to go. So now it's switched on. Oops, already I'm tripping up. We have it in reverse. Cords and leads are well out of the way, and just gentle pressure. Now this is very loud, so if you've got your volume up, I will give you a moment to switch it down a bit or pause the video. Yes, because this is exceptionally loud. Okay. I'm half deaf already, but you may want to use ear defenders even. Okay. Have your drill nicely supported. I'd hold it that way because it's best for me, but make sure that you've got a good handle on it. Switch the drill off. Bob's your uncle, Fanny's your aunt. And then you see we've got a nice clean hole there, no ripping or tearing. We've got on the inside, that's pretty good, it's just ripped the paper a bit. And there's our there's our evidence, so to speak. It will always take a layer or two off of this plywood, but I'll show you what we do about that later. And you're left with this little disc here. So that one went quite well. Same on the other side. So clamp your work nicely back in the bench there. Making sure it's good and level. Nicely supported. Drill in reverse. Leads out the way. Switch it back on. And we're ready to go on the second one. And I always say, once it's gone through, take your finger off the trigger and just let it slow down, because you can tear it as you're pulling it back out sometimes. So it's probably better to do that, in my opinion. As you can see, it's already managed to stick itself in there. So before we do anything else, switch it off, and then hopefully we can manoeuvre it back out. If not, we'll just have to take the it might be easier just to take that out and slip it through the box, so we'll do that. It's more sensible. Now this can be hot, so make sure it's not. That wasn't very safety conscious really, but yeah, you get my drift. I've found with this actually it doesn't get hot, but this part can. So they're a word to the wise. Like I say, hopefully we're all over 18. Anyway, Liesl, moving on. Put the drill down, it's nicely switched off. And there we go, we have the holes. They look pretty even, whether they are or not I don't know, but if they're not you'll just get a nice angle, which I actually prefer to be honest. And we can just check against our piece of rod dowling. And that just slides in there nicely, okay? There's a bit of a gap, which you do want. That will be taken up later so that it doesn't slide around, no problem. Lid on the front, and you kind of get an idea. I'm in such a small space that I can't really, I'm hitting the door jamb. But, oh dear. But you get the drift. There it is. So if you can imagine that bit gone, that'll be kind of our Diddley Bow when it's complete. If I do take that out, just for now, and just to recap, these will go in the corner and they'll be filed nice and flat. We'll glue those in place, and these little plastic clips are handy for this. Another thing, you see, if the lid was still on, you can't file these properly, so that's why these boxes are ideal, and we'll just glue them in place like that. If you're clever, you can go either side. It says Liesl, which holds it firmly in place then, so it's squeezed into this corner and it's squeezed up against this corner. And you can't see because my thumb's in the way, but it's totally held then, both ends. And we'll leave those to dry whilst we get on with the rest of the build. So that's that really. I will recap on this in the next video, but there it is. That'll keep everything nice and solid, and yeah, we're well on our way. Now I have decided to do that in stages because we will be inserting other small pieces of wood, but we'll do that as we go along, I think, because it will give a better explanation of what we're doing. And then really, I mean, at this stage, that's pretty much it. I just zoom the bench. It's another thing, I like to do this because I don't like to leave it all open like that. I think it's safer just to wind it back in. And really, I would say that's it. Next we will be doing more drilling because we'll be doing the holes for the sound holes. Normally I would do that now, but I think for the sake of consistency, we'll include that in the next video, which is coming very soon, possibly even later today. So yeah, I'm going to say we'll leave it there for now. Job's a good one. Let's hope so anyway. So peeps, that does leave only for me to say, wherever you are, do stay safe. Whatever you're doing, do stay blessed. Oh, whatever life brings, keep building. Okay then peeps, I'll see you on the next one. Thanks a lot. Bye for now. Bye.